Hey, Christy Mattoon here with Mind Rewire. Thank you for being here. Subscribe, like, share, all of those wonderful things. I always greatly appreciate it. I had somebody, and I've actually had a few people ask me this question in the last couple of days. And actually somebody before had asked it, and I'm not sure if I answered it or not. So this is kind of playing catch up, but I wanted to answer this question about what position should I be in when I'm practicing heart coherence, or when I'm meditating, or when I'm doing any of these things. So there is a perfect position to be in for any of this stuff. And if you can get that perfect position, you're going to get amazing benefit. And so I want to share with you what that perfect position is, because once you understand this and you really can work with it, it makes a huge difference in anything you're practicing. So I want you to think about you as a human being in all of your different states. Like when you're awake and you're up and you're moving, in the position of your body when you're walking, when you're sleeping, when you're sitting in a chair relaxing, right, legs bent, and you're sitting there relaxed, or when you're walking down the street and the pattern, right, that you walk in. It's always opposites, right? Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. So you've got this nice crossover pattern going, which, by the way, creates a whole brain state. When you're sleeping at night and you're laying down, or you're rolled onto a side and you're curled up and tucked up in a fetal position, however you sleep, right? However you sleep. When you're practicing what you're practicing, the best position to practice it in is whatever position you're in at the time you decide to practice. And here's why. We create our little prayer closets, and we create our little sacred spaces, which is important. Do that. It's very important. And we sit down in these spaces and we kneel and we do our practice, in a lotus position when you're sitting, or, however you sit when you're practicing. I'm typically in a chair, reclining, if I have to tell the truth, in my living room in front of my fireplace. That's my practice area. And what happens if you practice in the same position over and over and over again, what you're training your system to do is to need to be in that position when you practice, right? If I sit down for 50 years on the floor with my legs crossed and my arms in whatever, hands in whatever position they're in, my system thinks it needs to be in that position to get into that place. What I have typically done, and what I have done for years, because I can't get my body into that position that I was taught to meditate in, is I sit however is comfortable. In the moment that I'm going to go sit down and meditate, what's comfortable? I'll stand up. If sitting down isn't comfortable, I will stand up to meditate. Can you do that? I will go on walks with the intention of getting into a meditative state while I'm walking, so that I can walk with my angels. Can you do that? The answer is yes, you can. You can do it however you want to do it, because it's your body, first of all. And second of all, when you do anything in a different position, you're activating different centers of your body. Standing is different from sitting. When I'm sitting down and totally relaxed, I can get into a state differently than I'm standing up and I'm having to activate core muscles to stay standing. Different than when I'm laying down and preparing myself for sleep and I'm getting into that sleep-wake state, right in between that place, so then I'm sliding information into the system. If I'm standing up and trying to do that, right, and get into that state, maybe I need to lean against a wall or something. But if I get lost in that state while I'm standing, it's different than if I'm doing it laying down. Different centers of my body activate. And what happens is you're training your system that I can do this anywhere I am. So if a circumstance arises, the state is there, it's prepared, it's ready. I don't have to go, oh my goodness, back home and get into my prayer closet to do my work, right? Or into my sacred space and do my meditation, or, whatever the thing is for you. If I've trained my system to do it in many different ways, My system will do it in many different ways. And when the situation arises where I need it the most, it's there, it's active, it's ready to go. Does that make sense? Does that help? Heart coherent state, which is what I typically do with people. Getting into a heart coherent state needs to be a consistent cadence in your life. It is not something that you stop and do. And even though we have to start with, because that's how you start training the system, we stop, we put our hands on our heart, we inhale, exhale, you get into the state, and you feel it, feel it, feel it. You want to be able to do this so that when I'm walking down the street with just a single breath, I can all of a sudden feel my heart go into gratitude, and I can be in that heart coherent state. When I walk into a meeting, this is good, and I know there's going to be tension in the room, with just a breath, I can pull myself into that state. No matter what's going on around me, there I am in that state. When something super tragic happens, and I've had this happen before, I've talked about this before with my little brother, when he committed suicide, I went right into my state. And because I was able to do things that nobody else around me was seeing or witnessing. Well, they were witnessing some of it, actually, because it was pretty noticeable. When he was slamming doors through the house and when his light came on, there was other people there besides me that were like, whoa, right? But I could see him and I understood his level of emotion in those moments. When you have something planned that you have to go into, and you know that when you get into it, maybe you prepare yourself ahead of time and you're feeling really good about it, but then something happens and it kind of derails you. Can you in that moment and swing yourself right back into the state that you need to be in? I had a guy the other day that was using to get himself back. He was using it as an anchor to get back into his state. I have a handful of things that I have attached to stomping my foot, grounding, clearing, resetting my system, balancing certain things in my system with one stomp of my foot. And all of a sudden my body just goes, pulls me right back into alignment. I trained my body to do that, right? So if you're only sitting down and meditating, only sitting there with your hands over your chest, getting into a heart coherent state, only going into your closet to do your prayer work, you're training your body that it can only do it in that place. Then you might struggle a little bit needing it somewhere else. You might struggle a little bit when you need it somewhere else. So I would say practice it in every different position possible. Practice getting into your state, into heart coherence, when you know you're going to walk into a situation that would normally totally throw you off track. And then your goal, your whole focus is staying heart coherent. You'll start training your system totally differently. You just will. That's how it works. And that's what you want to do. That's the whole point of this, is to train yourself to do this different, to train yourself into this pattern of change that will help you keep growing and growing and growing. Okay, does that help? I'm trying to think of what else was on this topic. I think that was it. What position should I be in? Every position imaginable, right? And even while you're in coherence, try and sit down and stand up and lay down and stand up and sit down and lay down and move. Keep that feeling inside your body. Open your eyes, take a walk with that feeling inside your body. Go for a walk and then pull it up while you're walking. See if you can engage yourself while you're walking. It's a great way to start practicing keeping not only coherent, keeping yourself in a different state of being, but training it into your system deeper and deeper and deeper every time you do it. Okay? Every prayer out of your mouth, every word out of your mouth should be a prayer. Every word out of your mouth should be a prayer. So I'm practicing everything I speak is in the form of reverence, in the form of gratitude, in the form of love, compassion. Every thought that I think should be in the form of a meditation, should be not necessarily a meditative state, but should be in a meditative state. Every thought, what would happen if you lived your life that way? Totally different than what we're doing right now on a positive end versus the negative end. All right, I hope this blesses you. Thank you for being here. And as always, I will talk to you again soon.